So even when we've seen that we're not a separate person, that we are one being experiencing itself as many different lifetimes, forms, and species, still for me, after having seen that, there is still this real strong sense of having to do this awakening, making sure I get it right. And all that comes with that. Am I doing the practices right? A lot of resistance I had to meditation, to contemplation, self-inquiry, um, resistance in every way possible, because the sense was that I had to make sure I get this right. I'm a someone who's doing the practice to eventually arrive at some goal of recognizing I am the infinite self and seeing that so clearly that it permeates all of my life. But and maybe you can feel this as well inside, that there's some sense of responsibility. I've got to get this right. And then some judgment, of course, from our mind that we're not doing it right or that we are doing it right. And that kind of goes on for a while. But the one area really I wanted to expose today is this sense of control, because it really did, my imaginary separate self really did live in this place for a while, that I can control. Well, first of all, it was my whole world. I wanted to control my outer environment. Then I wanted to control my inner environment. And then it subtly shifted to being able to control the idea that I could control my spiritual awakening. And there was a lot of resistance to letting go of this idea. If I'm not a separate self or a person or a someone, if I'm not an object, I am that in which all objects appear. Do I have any control in the way that my mind says I do? And perhaps even more importantly, can I even let go of control? And I wanted to bring this forward because time and time again, as it was for me, I hear people saying, I'm scared, this fear about letting go. I don't think I can let go or surrender is another word that gets used, um, into that which is just always here. I feel like I'm the one who has to kind of let go of being a separate self and just allow the infinite self that I am, formless silence and stillness, to emerge. We might notice that we're trying to orchestrate that process. Really, what's actually true is that we are just watching from and as that infinite self. Thoughts thinking about control, and thoughts thinking about letting go, and thoughts thinking about whether it's safe to let go of control that never really was there. And in my own journey and everyone else's, I've noticed a tremendous amount of resistance to looking at this, because it really strikes at the core of our identity, imagined identity as a someone. If I've never had control in the way that I think, at least, as a separate person, then everything that's ever happened for me up until this point that's gone right, I can't take credit for. I didn't make it happen as a separate person. But the other side of that coin, that dualistic coin, is everything that's ever gone wrong up until this point, including my awakening in every area of my life, I also can't take credit for or blame either. So mind says, well, I don't know if I can let go. And we let it speak through our mouth. We say, I'm not sure if it's safe to let go. Will my life continue in the same way if I'm not trying to control it? Who's going to feed the kids and do the school run and get to work on time and do the grocery shopping and all of that stuff if I'm not running my life as a separate person? And that seems like a really valid thing to worry about, doesn't it? I want to make sure I'm still going to care about my job. or my marriage or my children or whatever it is that we don't feel whatever reason we're currently looking at as to why we can't let go. But the ultimate truth is that you never had control as a separate being. There's nothing to let go of. That is the illusion, right? And I'm really wanting to emphasize this because I tortured myself for years in this way, as I'm sure we all have. Can I let go? And in seeming to fail to even let go, I can't even do that right, said the doer, you know? It's funny now, I'm smiling, but it wasn't funny at the time. It was awful, absolutely awful. This one thing I have to do in my awakening, and that is let go into the self. And I can't even seem to do that. Failed at that. Let go of control and allow the switch over to living as the infinite self. What if even that is part of the illusion? What if even that is not even possible? What if I've always here as the infinite self and I've been watching this mind thing think about, and it's convinced that it is a person. It's convinced that it had some level of control over reality, and perhaps most especially over this awakening process. And now I have to find some way to let go of control. And we all find that monumentally difficult to do, to let go of control. Is that because we're not good enough? Or is it because we never had it in the first place? We're trying to do something that has nothing to do with us. Or perhaps easier said, the mind is trying to do something that we're already just watching, just seeing, just aware of, just conscious of, just present to. I'm present, end of story. I am presence. And something in front of me is trying to do and undo control. What if that is the major thing to recognize? I can't let go because it isn't me. Just because thoughts say I and me and mine doesn't mean that it's got anything to do with us. We're just here, one being. Just the vast, formless, infinite space in which all these phenomena are appearing. What possible control could you have? Mind doesn't like this because it says, you know, if I let go of being this way, I'm going to lose control. But you can't lose something that you never had. You're already that, in which the idea of control and letting go is being discussed on a level of thoughts. There's a debate going on, isn't there, inside the mind? A heated debate sometimes that we're just watching. And the only illusion to see is that we think we're in that debate. We think we're debating. And what if that's never been true? If we look right now, try to find a person that's holding on and that can let go. If it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. We can't find it. There's an energy, a somethingness, a seekingness, an energy that's trying to surrender more, trying to let go. What if that's always just been happening in front of you? What if everything you've ever achieved was always going to happen and there never was a separate person that made it happen? And what if everything you never managed to achieve was never going to happen and there never was a person who failed at it? What does that mean then for your life, your awakening, your relationships, your career, your finances? If we've got to let go of some idea, my stomach's making funny noises. If we've got to let go of some idea, then it's going to get let go of. And there's nothing you can do about that. Just to see this angst, for me, it was always this tension in the solar plexus in the stomach, usually accompanied with a whole lot of indigestion and other things we do not need to go into. Tension and this fear. What happens when I let go? What happens when I let go? Will I be safe? Will I be able to manage my life? Will I be able to ad infinitum? All of this is from the idea that I had any control in the first place to let go of. Instead, we can see that we're just admitting the truth. I have always been just here as this formless infinite self. There's no switch over from small self to big self happening. It's not true. There's no change of identity happening. In the mind, maybe, but for you, it's just seeing who you've always been. You've always been this. You've always been that which is real and here and stable. Any process that seems to be going on is happening in front of you and not to you. And it's amazing to realize that this is just going to happen on its own. It cannot be stopped. This being awakening. Wherever control seems to be happening, thought will just go on a journey. Maybe I can let go of control. I think I'm letting go of control. Now I'm surrendering more. Now I'm being the self more. All of a commentary on what was totally untrue. The only thing that's true is that you exist. Everything else is what the mind is doing, what the body is doing. And the mind has 100 million ways to subtly try to do something. This one here that we're talking about today, is it safe for me to let go? Can I let go? It catches us all for quite some time. It certainly did for me. So over and over again, the awakening process for me came back to looking at if this has really got anything to do with me, this current thing that I think I'm trying to achieve. Is it on my to-do list as the infinite silence? If that's what I am, what remains for me to do? Do I even need my mind and body to see this clear? As the infinite self, the silence, the stillness, the presence. I'm here and I'm everywhere. Does it really matter so much whether one mind or body really gets this? Not so concerned from there. And of course, from there, then it has to happen. It was always going to happen. Just gets to be a bit clearer and a bit simpler and a bit easier. So what's your current problem and what are you trying to do about it? And do you believe it's you that's doing? Or maybe you're trying to undo something. The doer in reverse, you know? If I shift it into reverse and go backwards, it doesn't count as doing, the mind says. And if I'm undoing, you know, if I'm dissolving stuff, if I'm the dissolver of these karmic patterns, then that, you know, that's also another place we get stuck. So I just wanted to bring this forward because it's come up several times this week. And it's not a cop-out to realize, it's not an avoidance to realize that I never had control of anything as a separate being. If you want to control something, control the whole universe. Let's at least be honest about that. Like, let's do it properly if we're going to do it. Don't just try to control one mind and body. And not as a separate being, oh God, now I've got to manage the whole universe, you know, but let's just be honest and say it's appearing inside us. And There's only one being, and it's not actually doing anything because it's formless and intangible. It doesn't have any hands to hold something or let it go even. It doesn't have any attachments or anything like that. So where are you trying to let go? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to undo? And are you willing to admit that that may be the greatest work of fiction you've ever entertained? Already free, you're already free. And of course, we would like certain parts of our life to be better and to be more abundant and more peaceful and all of that stuff. But can it really happen in the way that we want if we're insisting that we have to do it? And 99% of all thoughts that still persist in separation are around what we're trying to do or undo. Usually by this point, some kind of very subtle doer that's trying to get the spiritual practice right or trying to let go of something. So I wanted to speak about this because it was one of the most painful parts of my awakening. Don't remember much about it now, but I remember it was really, really awful. And for a long time, I couldn't see what was going on. Of course, all that I've just said isn't true either. I'm just here and have always been. And the relief to see that. I've never done anything. I've never controlled anything as a separate self. I'm not coming out of illusion, right? You're not coming out of illusion. You're watching mind come out of illusion. Already free. And that's the only thing that will ever be true, no matter what our mind says is going on.